experience.
Please detail the journey that you went on to write this book and why it's of concern to you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I started traveling to the Congo 5 years ago. I've been doing research on slavery and child labor for about 20 years, traveling all around the world, documenting slaves and child laborers, human trafficking. And this came across my radar maybe 7 years ago. People started talking in the field about cobalt. Cobalt's in the batteries. It's in the Congo. The conditions are horrible. And I had no idea. I never heard of this. So I started planning to take trips to get down there. And I took my first trip back in 2018. My plan was I thought I would try to lay the groundwork to do some academic research. And the things I saw there were so appalling and heart-wrenching and urgent that I changed my approach. I thought, people need to know about this. I need to write a book. And so I started planning more trips, and I just kept going back. And the reason this is important, Joe, and we can dig into this in more depth, throughout the whole history of slavery, I mean, I'm going back centuries, never in human history has there been more suffering that generated more profit and was linked to the lives of more people around the world, ever in history, than what's happening in the Congo right now. And the reason I say that is this. The cobalt that's being mined in the Congo is in every single lithium-ion rechargeable battery manufactured in the world today. Every smartphone, every tablet, every laptop, and crucially, every electric vehicle. So you and I, we can't function on a day-to-day basis without cobalt, and 3/4 of the supply is coming out of the Congo. And it's being mined in appalling, heart-wrenching, dangerous conditions. And so that's why people need to know, because by and large, the world doesn't know what's happening in the Congo.
It's something that people sort of know peripherally, that, you know, that they call them conflict minerals, and, you know, they know that they're coming from an area of the world that's very poor, but I don't think people are aware of how horrible it is. There have been some documentaries that have been done on it, and they're all terrifying.
Yeah, so conflict minerals was phase one, and that's actually not cobalt.
What does it refer to? Conflict minerals?
So conflict minerals, also called the 3TG minerals, are tin, tungsten, tantalum, and gold. And those are in the eastern Congo. And that catastrophe started around the year 2000, late 1990s, 2000, shortly after the Rwandan genocide. The militias moved in, and the eastern Congo is sitting on some of the largest reserves in the world of those 3TG minerals, especially tantalum. And those are all used in microprocessors. And you can think back to, you know, around the year 2000, mobile phones first started coming out and gaining traction. I still remember my little StarTAC flip phone that I had from Motorola. You remember that?
Sure.
And all that supply was coming out of Eastern Congo. Militias and warlords were forcing the local population at gunpoint, machete point, to dig this stuff out, and it was flowing up into the formal supply chain, into mostly those first-generation cell phones. And that became known as conflict minerals. Cobalt started later. Cobalt really took off about 10, 12 years ago. And it's in another part of the country, in the mining provinces in the southeast of the Congo. And cobalt took off because it was started to be used in lithium-ion batteries to maximize their charge and stability. And it just so happens that the Congo, just as it was sitting on more than half the world's reserves of coltan and, of course, a lot of gold and diamonds and other things, is sitting on more cobalt than the rest of the planet combined. And it's in a small little patch of the Congo, southeastern corner, a part that used to be called Katanga. And before anybody knew what was happening, Chinese government, Chinese mining companies took control of almost all the big mines, and the local population has been displaced, is under duress, and they dig in absolutely subhuman, gut-wrenching conditions for $1 a day, feeding cobalt up the supply chain into all the phones, all the tablets, and especially electric cars.
People tell me they've eaten the thing that I'm looking for.
Really?
Yeah, when we were doing Extinct, looking for the extinct animals, of which we had success quite a lot, but I've had guys be like, oh, yeah, they're delicious. I'm like,
What?
well, like, tell me where to find it. Like, you've eaten it, and you have no reason to lie about this whatsoever. Like, please just help me.
What was this that they had said?
That was regarding that caiman. Remember that yellow caiman? And we did find them, so that worked out. But literally, I remember we're walking through the village in day one before we even get in the canoes, and I'm like showing people these pictures of all the different species of caiman, and I kept pointing to the Trompa largo amarillo, the long-nosed yellow one, right? And everybody's like, yes, no, maybe, one time. And then one guy's like, oh, those are delicious. And I'm like, oh, God, can we put this on Animal Planet? I don't even know. Like, can you say that this thing is delicious?
Endangered species that you're eating. Well, there was always these rumors of like these places where these billionaires would fly into in China and eat like gorilla.
Yeah.
And, you know, have you ever heard of that kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah, I've heard about it. I believe it, too.
Do you?
I really do, yeah. I think that especially, you say, like, especially with China, where the Eastern medicine and the status symbol of eating tiger whiskers and this, that, and the other thing.
There's a status symbol of eating something that's forbidden and very difficult to acquire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, China has so many billionaires now. I forget what it is, but dozens and dozens of them, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if that status symbol is important to someone with that much power and money, how are you not getting it?
Yeah, what a weird culture where your status is based on eating something that's endangered.
It doesn't even click in my head. Like, I cannot physically understand it. Like, no part of me is like, oh, I get that. Like, I really want to eat some tiger whiskers.
Have we ever talked about the Bondo ape?
Yes, you have. Yeah, I know you like the Bondo ape a lot. Yeah. Big lion-killing apes, right?
Well, there's just a big chimpanzee that lives in the Congo, which is... The Congo is so incredible. It's like, God, what an insanely rich, resource-ridden place that's also a war zone.
And being absolutely raped and pillaged by, big corporations in the Western world for resources and minerals. And
I had Siddharth Kara on, who his book comes out. Does it come out next week? It comes out the end of January.
Okay.
But his book is all about cobalt mining in the Congo.
Interesting.
And it's horrifying.
I do want to read it. Yeah.
Horrifying. 19-year-old girls with babies on their back who are hand chipping cobalt out of the ground and then inhaling all these toxic fumes and powder, this dust, and then that is in your cell phone.
Right.
That's how the cobalt gets into your fucking cell phone.
That's at your Apple store.
Nuts.
It's the new blood diamond, right? It's the new... And it's funny because I feel like the whole blood diamond thing and, there's been lots of these things, but it all sort of went away because it got exposed. But I feel like no one's talking about the inhumane things that are taking place for our modern conveniences. It's one thing when it's a luxury, like a blood diamond, right? Or whatever. But when it's like, oh, well, I can't live without my iPhone, then it's like we're willing to turn a blind